Hey listeners, welcome back to Genius or Gibberish, the podcast where we dive into the coolest scientific topics with a splash of fun. I'm your host Ria, and today we're unraveling the mystery behind identical twins and their genomes. Joining me is my co-host Pip. Hey Pip.
Hey, thanks Ria, and hi everyone. So let's kick things off today with this interesting statement. The genome of identical twins remains identical for their entire lives. It sounds straightforward, right? But is it? Let's break it down. So Ria, what exactly is a genome?
Great question. So a genome is the ultimate instructional manual for an individual. It's made up of 23 pairs of chromosomes housed in the cell's nucleus. These chromosomes all hold information that's needed for us to grow, develop, and function. So think of it as a super detailed recipe book for making, well, you.
Nice analogy. Yeah, according to Berkeley in California in 2020, most of the mutations that we think matter to evolution are naturally occurring. For example, when a cell divides, it makes a copy of its DNA, and sometimes the copy is not perfect. That small difference from the original DNA sequence is a mutation. Spontaneous breakdown of DNA can also cause mutations. So, how did identical twins come into the picture?
So identical twins, also known as monozygotic twins, can happen every once in 250 natural pregnancies and come from a single fertilized cell that splits into two embryos. This means at conception they are generally identical and they're almost always the same sex and have the same genomes. It's like having two copies of the same game cartridge.
Almost always, though, right? I've heard there are some rare cases where identical twins have been different sexes.
Yeah, but it's extremely rare. It happens when the zygote splits into two embryos with different sex determining chromosomes. As of 2019, it has only been recorded twice. So while identical twins usually share everything, in these rare exceptions prove that even nature loves a surprise.
Wow, just two cases. I wonder how many others there are out there that might not have been recorded. So here is where it gets interesting. Even though identical twins start with the same genome, their DNA sequence can change over time through mutations.
Right, mutations are like tiny edits in the DNA script. They can happen due to errors in replication, exposure to mutagens, or even viral infections. There are two types of mutations. One is a somatic mutation, which happens in body cells and are not passed on. Another is a germline mutation, which occurs in an egg or sperm. It can be inherited by the next generation.
Okay, and let's not forget epigenetics as well. This refers to the changes in how genes are expressed without changing the actual DNA sequence. So it's like choosing a different page but in the same book. One common modification is DNA methylation, where small chemical groups attach to a gene and turn it off, preventing the gene from producing protein. Another is histone modification, where proteins around which DNA is wrapped are altered, affecting whether a gene is switched on or off. When these processes go wrong, it can lead to diseases like cancer or metabolic disorders because genes are either mistakenly activated or silenced.
Yeah, and environmental factors can play a part in that too. So, some factors that affect twins can include drug use during pregnancy, birth complications, exposure to toxins, smoking, sun exposure, and so many more. This often refers to as the nature and nurture effect. Studying twins helps us to understand the effect on a variety of factors, such as eye color, intelligence, and autism. One study, 10% of the differences in the tendency to developing alcoholism were attributed to the environmental factors shared with a sibling. Another study is a twin study that have shown the most individual variation in autism and ADHD is due to genetic factors. So, even though identical twins start with the same genetic material, these mutations and environmental influences can make genomes slightly different over time. That's why the statement, the genome of identical twins remains identical for their entire lives, is actually a misconception.
Exactly right. Their genomes are almost identical at birth, but a range of factors can introduce differences as they grow older. It is like two artists starting with the same blank canvas, but adding their own unique touches over time. One study published in the PNAS showed differences in gene expression among older twin pairs were 4 times greater than those observed in young twin pairs.
and these tiny differences can have a big impact, leading to things like one twin developing a condition that the other does not have, or even personality and behavior. It is fascinating how dynamic our genomes are.
It's complicated terminology, though, which can be confusing and means the research field is often misunderstood. There have been media stories blown out of proportion because of this, and because the media loves a news story. In this case, with gene expression and DNA, did you hear about the identical twin astronauts Mark and Scott Kelly? In 2016, Scott returned from a stay on the International Space Station, and there was widespread fake news claiming that the twin brothers no longer had identical DNA.
Oh my, right? I heard about that, but of course it was not his DNA that changed, it was his gene expression. Even after 6 months of his return, most of these expressions had returned to normal, well, with a few exceptions. But it's easy to get carried away in the story. But we must remember it's only one story with one set of twins, and it is the best we have for now, but not the most scientifically accurate.
Absolutely. Okay, so to wrap things up, let's summarize the main points we've discussed. Genome is the complete set of genetic instructions in 23 pairs of chromosomes. Identical twins, originating from one fertilized egg sharing the same genome initially. Mutations, changes in the DNA sequence that can happen over time. Epigenetics, regulation of gene activity without changing the DNA sequence. And environmental factors, external influences that can alter gene expression and genome stability.
So, those are our main topics. While identical twins are generically similar, their genomes can diverge slightly due to a number of factors, so making each twin unique in their own way. But if you want to search any of the topics we've spoken about or do some extra reading of your own, they will be linked below.
Exactly. So I guess it's the perfect blend of nature and nurture, like we said, showing us that even with identical starting points, our experiences and environments shape who we become.
Thanks for this insightful discussion, and thank you all for staying in tune to Genius or Gibberish. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Until next time, stay curious.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
I'm Emily Underwood, and I was one of the researchers for this podcast.
I'm Philippa Northam, and I was involved with the research, script writing, and presenting elements of this project.
My name's Matilda, and I was one of the researchers.
Hello, my name is Ewan Thompson, and I was the script editor.
My name is Riakor Athwell. I was involved in researching, presenting, script writing, script editor, audio editor, and team leader.